Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. Thanks for joining us here on your Sunday morning, at least here on the East Coast of the US of A. It is Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining. Joining me here today, this is like an impromptu collection of the Four Fusion Friday crew, right? So we got George Lemie and Eric Porter in the house as well. What's up, guys?
What's up, heathens?
Ready to talk a little planetx?
Let's do it.
I will say, I'm going to get this. I don't think I've ever said this before on any other Ranking the Album show that I have ever done on this channel in almost 10 years. Who cares what my ranking is? It doesn't matter. It could change tomorrow. It could change an hour from now. It's changed 5 times since I sat down to do this. I think George said it perfectly a couple days ago when we were discussing this. This is like nitpicking to the nth degree. It's splitting hairs. Every one of these albums that we're going to talk about today is phenomenal. I don't consider any worse than the other or better than the other. I just gave up at some point putting them in an order. I'm like, so whatever my order is, it doesn't matter. If you haven't heard these albums, go out and get them all. Which one's the best? Which one should I get first? It doesn't matter.
Right.
Put a blindfold and just pick one. That's all. That's exactly how it is. Do you guys disagree with me here? I mean, it's just
no, very tight.
Good. I'm not the only one then. Thank God.
Yeah, if someone doesn't like my reason for putting one where it is, sorry. I didn't have any good reasons.
No, I don't like my reasons either. There is no reason. There's absolutely no reason. So thankfully, there's only 3 studio albums, right? There's 4 albums in total. There's Live from Oz, which we're not going to include in this because I mean it's a live album and it's just basically repeating stuff from the other studio albums and solos and things like that. It's fantastic though. You got to hear it if you haven't. So we're basically talking about these 3 studio albums. So we're gonna rank them in some sort of order. Again, who gives a shit? It doesn't really matter. Eric's gonna kick us off with his number 3.
All right. So I think with this one, like you said, Pete, not very difficult to pick. And
Eric's already like flustered.
Yeah, I did a change about an hour ago, and like you said, everyone go out and get them all, and you'll have the chance. The anthology, I think, comes out July 24th. So
right around the corner. That's your best bet. Just buy that, you get them all done.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would say everybody should wait. If you don't have any of these, don't bother searching them out right now. Just wait for the box set. It's going to be attractively priced. You get everything remastered. That's the way to go.
So, and like you said, these guys are absolutely phenomenal. I had Universe and Moon Babies. I did not have Quantum, so I got to thank George for sending that over to me, so I had a chance to listen. They're heavy, they're complex, intricate. I mean, just listening to this, whether you're listening to it as a musician or from a musician standpoint, I don't know how they put this stuff together. It's just amazing, the playing, the ability that these guys have. I think with Quantum, Brett Garson came in, replaced McAlpine. I don't think they missed a step. I mean, and Tony McAlpine is phenomenal, so don't take that the wrong way either. But usually when you mix and match people, sorry, George, when you mix and match people, people will tend to say, well, he's not the original guy or whatever. But I just had an opportunity to listen to Quantum for the first time over the past week, and I love it. So but what I'm going to do with my number 3 is I'm going with their debut, Universe, released in June of 2000, and this is Tony McAlpine, Virgil Donati, and Dereksherinian. I'm going to be building an altar to him at some point. Just love his stuff. And this one, I think Tom Kennedy plays bass on the entire record on this one, and I think on the others they have a few different players coming in and out. But like Pete said in the intro, splitting hairs with these 3. This one I feel like, and you guys will have your opinion, I feel like this one is the heaviest of the 3 to me. Now, and they all have that element to them. I know George and I think we're going back and forth, and he's like, this ain't fusion. This is heavy. This is, if you want to call it prog metal, if you want to call it fusion metal, whatever you want to do. But I found this one to be the heaviest of the 3. I love the opener, Clonus. I think that's McAlpine is really tuned down. Sherinian's got a nice gritty organ sound over that. And it's funny because you could talk about all these tracks and it's like, oh, there's a great solo in this one, or McAlpine's phenomenal. It's every track. Really cool. The only thing that kind of gets to me on this, and don't laugh, that narration at the beginning of I think King of the Universe. After you've heard the record a bunch of times, that gets old. But I know they're doing that to kind of lighten the mood, maybe soften things up a little bit, or have a little fun between. Because this, like I said, I think this is a really, really heavy record. But that's a great song. I'm trying to think of my favorite here. I think Warfinger might be one where it's kind of slows down a little bit, but I think McAlpine is just absolutely on fire in that track. There's a nice little bass solo from Tom Kennedy. And again, Sherinian's got that organ sound, just that gritty Hammond, if that's what he's using. But again, this is a great record. I think all of these are between 4 and 4.5 stars easily, all three of them. Just at this point, I think after listening to all three, you had to put one at the bottom, as we always say, and Universe would be my number 3.
Wasn't he using a Nord like almost exclusively back then that did like everything? I'm not sure if he still uses that or not. But...
I see his videos, Pete, and he's doing a lot of he just had one out that he was doing On Fire, I think, from Van Halen. He was doing the Van Halen show, and it looked like a Nord. So yeah, I think he probably was using that a lot.
Yeah, those things can do anything.
Yeah.
Right? Because his Hammond tones on some of this stuff is just like amazing. It's not a real Hammond, but it's like it certainly sounds like it, right? Cool. All right, George, what do you got for number 3?
That's my number 3 as well. When I heard they were going to make this a band going forward, I was obviously pleased because we talked about how much we all liked the Derek solo album called planetx. But when they decided to do the band thing, the two things I think that changed from that is of course, they got Tony McAlpine instead of Garcid. And to me, you couldn't pick a better guy. He's a convincing metal guy, and that's the other thing that I would mention is that they decided to be really metal on these. The Donati's one of the best writers of chug riffs to me. Everything just sounds so killer. The grooves, the crunch factor is just great. But McAlpine sells that like totally convincingly, but he's also got the chops to play their little fusiony sections. So you couldn't make a better pick. So those two things actually made it a little better than that Derek album for me, as to set the mark with the band going forward, is that's going to be their identity. Just a great move. Lead off track, Clonus, like Eric said, that's a great track. Another notable track is Dog Boots. You guys are guitar players, so you probably don't know this, maybe you read about it, but that song is like kind of like the New Extreme song with the guitar solo. That song with the drumming was like a song that everyone got excited about at the time, because the double bass is 30-second note double strokes, which is like unheard of. For people that don't know anything about that stuff, picture a Slayer Metallica fast double bass song, but instead of alternating, he's playing 2 strokes on each bass drum. Which, who even thinks of that? I don't know. If you can't hear it, you can at least feel it. If you go and listen to it, it's got a stuttery feel.
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing. Only some crazy woodshedding practice hound like him, or maybe Simon Phillips, could do some stuff like this. It's just, and some of the new guys can now, but back then it was like unheard of. My favorite track, I think, is Europa. There's something about that one. It's upbeat, great melodies, really killer trades between Tony and Derek. Also Warfinger, like Eric said, that's real heavy, great groove, great bass solo from Tom Kennedy. They could probably use him a little more here, but I get it. He's a sideman. Why is this 3? I would say Chocolate is the closest thing to a Duff track they have in their whole catalog. It's not a bad song at all, but in this catalog, it's kind of pedestrian, so I would call that the closest thing they have. And I agree with Eric. The voiceover to King of the Universe is corny, and it goes a little too long. It's like a minute long. that is literally all that's making me put this at 3, because this is great.
And George, you know what was funny about this one? And I can't remember if I felt the same way about Moon Babies and Quantum. The endings of these songs, it's like they ramp up, and the usually the intros kill you. Like the endings to these songs are like unbelievable.
Yeah, you're like, you could have gone another minute or two. Why did you stop?
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, please don't stop. Keep it going.
Right.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go with Quantum as number 3. Again, there's no bad here at all. You know, this could be my number 1 tomorrow. It's so hard. So this is their last album to date from 2007. It's kind of sad because I think we all wanted much more from these guys. You got Brett Garsett in the band now, taking over from Tony McAlpine. You got Alan Holdsworth on a couple tracks. Jimmy Johnson and Rufus Philpott share the bass duties on this album. I love the kind of smooth soloing of Garsett alongside Derek's solos on Alien Hip Hop, which is a real treat to listen to. Desert Girl's got some cool piano. You don't hear a lot of piano on these albums, but I think it's nice there. And then Holdsworth comes in with this totally ethereal solo. It's just beautiful stuff. Matrix Gate absolutely crushes. And I love Donati's drumming on that one. I mean, he's just so on fire. I would argue that my favorite Donati drumming might be on this album. I'm not sure. It's amazing on all 3 albums. The Thinking Stone, another amazing Holdsworth solo on that one. Just a shame they didn't have him more on this album, but what are you going to do? Space Foam is absolutely killer. Kingdom of Dreams is another really good one. Nice and majestic sounding. There's like some nice, cool symphonic keyboards from Derek on this album. I think some of this, he uses some different tones here, which I kind of dig. Poland is great. Got great soloing from both Garsett and Derek. I mean, I have nothing bad to say about this album. Quantum Factor, mind-blowing, right? Just it's a killer record. Something's got to go at number 3. Today I chose this. Back to Eric.
So here's where my struggle began. I've had Moon Babies the longest, and I just got Quantum. So I don't know if it's the excitement of getting the one I haven't heard, but I'm going with Moon Babies at number 2. Released on my birthday, 7/29/2002. What I did notice in the liner notes, it looks like a lot more of the songs are written by Donati, where I think on Universe, they credit the entire band. I don't know if that makes a difference. I feel the dynamics are better on this record. It's not as heavy, but it is heavy. I just feel like there's a little more interplay. There's a little more pulling back in a good way. I don't mean that in a bad way. I like the dynamics a little better here. Moon Babies is a great opener. That one to me is very memorable. It's another one where I think Tom Kennedy gets a little bass solo towards the end. I think my 2 favorites would be Noble Savage. I really like the jazzy, spacey intro. And actually wouldn't mind a little more of that from these guys, just to kind of play off the heavy stuff. McAlpine, again, just a ton of flurries in this one, just great playing. This might be the closest to, I know George and I went back and forth, but maybe this is probably the most fusion track, I think, on this record. My other favorite is Digital Vertigo. And Pete, you mentioned the piano from Quantum. This one has a nice little piano riff in the beginning. I think there's some great dual playing here with Derek and Tony. And it actually gets into the soloing here is terrific. And it's a little funky at times underneath it. But again, what do you say? Just great stuff, start to finish. And I think George is always talking about no softies. Even when you get a little, the only softy is maybe a little transition piece in some of these songs, but these guys keep the intensity level, I think, up pretty much throughout all 3 of these records. So there's no real slowing down at all from them. And I love that. Like you said, the only thing maybe is like give them a little more soloing out or something like that, but otherwise no complaints whatsoever.
Cool. George?
My number 2 is Quantum. For whatever reason, I was a little slow to absorbed this when it came out, which now when I listen back, it makes no sense to me because it's so in line with the catalog, but I had a little trouble with it at first. Lead track, Alien Hip Hop. I mean, it's just classic Daryl. It's got, again, like a stuttering riff. It's real catchy. Desert Girl is the main Holdsworth track. You can tell they had him in mind compositionally. The chords used in that one are like Allen classic, and the solo is amazing. I think my favorite, if it's not Desert Girl, is Space Foam. There's something about that tune. Got all the classic planetx traits. I would have liked to see Philpott, if the band went on. They had named Philpott as the bass player in the band at that point, but of course they didn't go on. So, but I would like to see him go on because he's got a great tone, and he's actually a songwriter too. So it would have been interesting to see what he contributed. This is the ultimate split hairs. The only reason this is 2 and not 1 is I feel like the last 2 songs might be a little, I've heard that before at that point. Variations on what I know they do, just a little bit. That's as good as I can come up with to decide to put this at 2 instead of 1.
And George, was Holdsworth supposed to be on this more than he was? I thought I read that.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, the guys basically told me that.
He came home.
But he was so unhappy with everything he had put together. He went and scrapped it all, and they were like, "Oh no!" Yeah.
Like in Thinking Stone, it's just like a unaccompanied thing that he was playing in the studio that they put it into a track, but he doesn't really play on that track other than that. Like as soon as he's done, Garson comes in and solos over the progression. That's all they had.
Yeah.
You know what, Pete? I forget. Did you get out of them their choice of guitar player as far as why they picked McAlpine or why McAlpine left? I'm interested to know about that.
Yeah, I don't think we got into that. I don't think so. Yeah. That would have been good to know. Yeah.
Because there was a lot of talk at the time of this, like they were still going to go on as a band. There was a lot of, who's it going to be? Greg Howe? Is it going to be, and it's like, I wonder what they look for in a guitar player.
Go out and read about it, because I thought I read something where, like you said, they were supposed to continue, and actually McAlpine was kind of back in the fold, but they never did anything, I guess. So I'm not sure what happened.
That's what maybe the most amazing thing about this album. We touched on it in chat. We try not to talk about this stuff, but Eric and I did touch on it in chat. How little you feel McAlpine's lack here is amazing. Like you lose a guy that good, you feel it. It comes out in the sound, but honestly, you don't feel it here. I mean, they totally covered it. I don't know if Garcid's playing the rhythm tracks on here, but nobody else is credited. But I mean, metal playing, you don't just wake up and do that. I know he can play anything, but to play the chugs convincingly, sounds great.
Yeah. Yeah. George, you mentioned earlier how when the album first came out, you had a little bit of a blocker trying to get into it. I kind of did the same thing. And I think with me, it was more mental because I was pretty upset that Tony was no longer in the band and not on the album. And, nothing against Brett, because he's a great player. I think there was some sort of little mental block going on with me that I think inhibited my enjoying it as much as I would have liked to initially. That wore off pretty quickly because, as you say, you listen to it now and they don't miss a beat. It's not like there's a dip at all in quality at all with the two guitar players, with the guitar players changing. So, but initially I was kind of like, oh, how can they do this without Tony, right? It's like Brett's great, but it's Tony. Now it's just like, it didn't matter at all, All right, my number 2, I'm going to go with Universe, the first album. And there they are right there. This kind of picks up right where the planetx album kind of left off, although it is heavier, I would agree. I think Clonus is terrific. And, they let you know right at the beginning of the album, like this is going to be a heavy record. And it just kicks you right in the teeth. I love the organ tones on that, or even more so on 2116. Which is amazing. I think Derek's synth solos on Pods of Trance are just face melting. I mean, that's shredding for a keyboard player. Just love it. I love Warfinger. And again, he's got these amazing tones on the organ tones on that one as well. He's got a great synth solo on that one too. I find I think this album is more, Derek really shines on this album a lot. I think the other two albums are more full band things, to my ears anyway. But Virgil's just killing it underneath all of it. Europa, I mean, it sure doesn't sound like the Santana song, right? It's like, I remember when this album first came out, I was like, Europa, I wonder if that's going to be a cover tune. Nope, sorry, it's not at all. Amazing track. Inside Black has got a killer groove. This band could really groove when they wanted to as well. Bitch just totally crushes. Shred Lover's Dream, Dog Boots, I also love that too. Yeah, I mean, Her Animal is great. The whole thing is great. I love it. It's heavy. It's solos all over the place. It's proggy. It's whatever you want to call it. It's great. It's my number 2. Back to Eric.
All right, I'm going with the newbie for me. Quantum, released in May of 2007. That is my number 1. I've been listening to this over the past week. I have to agree that I think Garson stepped in, and like I said, I didn't buy this at the time. So, and I get what you're saying, Pete, because you bring that up a lot when a member changes, and like you said, just kind of in your head, you're like, oh, and there is a stumbling block sometimes. And then listening to this from my side, I love Garson. I don't think they skip a beat. I kind of like this one has a bit more of a pulled back feel, I think, even than Moon Babies. Not as frenetic, but again, I mean that in a good way. I like the heavy stuff. I like the frenetic stuff. Alien Hip Hop, great opener. Desert Girl, I think like you were saying, George, the chording over the top of that on the intro, gorgeous. And I don't know how you explain Holdsworth solo other than just it's beautiful. It's amazing. That we always talk about him in the guest spot, right? Give him a guest chair all day long because he's amazing in that track. That Matrix Gate again brings in the piano, and I think you said it, Pete. Bring it more. I mean, I love his piano playing on this stuff, and I think this record might have the most of it of the 3. Again, really good stuff. Poland is another one that has some great piano in it. George, you mentioned Space Foam, and Sherinian's got a solo at about 2 minutes, 10 seconds in. That's just a face melter. It's a pretty quick solo, but just intense. And Snuff, same way. I think that one kind of has everyone getting a little turn. And at the end, I think Derek and Brett are going back and forth. Give me 10 minutes of that. I'll take that all day long. So surprisingly enough, this one, newest listen for me, very new to me, but I absolutely love it, as I love all 3. Like I said, I think these are easily 4 range, if not higher. 4 out of 5 stars for all these records, probably higher for most of them, but great stuff. So that's my number 1.
I would say yes, indeed, on that.
Yeah.
I look back on my reviews of these on the website, and I think I gave every one of them a 4.5 or a 5 out of 5. I mean, back when they came out, that tells you something.
Yeah, I would give the 2 I mentioned already 4.5. I would give this a 5. This is flawless. This is my number 1. I agree with both of you guys that Derek's patchwork is more varied on these records. He loves that Derek patch that he uses all the time, and it's great. I could fall in love with it too, but the way that he spreads it around with he's got a couple of synth tones that he solo with on these records that it's so killer. You're like, ah, man, do that more. And then of course the piano playing. But yeah, this one, Moon Babies, the lead track, I think that's the planetx track for me. That's my favorite planetx song over the 3 albums. Great Tom Kennedy solo. Just some of the unison runs in that are to just rip your head off. Noble Savage is another favorite. That's really good. This one's split in half with the bass playing, Tom Kennedy and Jimmy Johnson, and then the Sheehan's on one song. I'm not sure why that is, because he doesn't really stand out on that track, but it's a good tune, Micronesia. Interlude of Milan's a favorite.
Yep.
basically this whole record, there's nothing close to a track that you would think that you got to go buy. I mean, this is pretty much perfection. I would go so far. I would say this is in my top 5 rock metal based instrumental albums that I have. I mean, I just love this record. I saw the tour actually, and Fiorabracci was on the tour. He's another guy that would have been like a real fit for this band.
Yep.
Like, I think Tom Kennedy fit in a large way, but Fiorabracci even more. He's got more of the rock guy attitude and just playing style too. But yeah, this album, if you don't want to get the box set and you gotta get one, get this. This is really good.
Eric, were you at the Near Fest show that they did?
I wasn't. I forget what were they 2007?
I don't remember. It was one of the last ones I went to. I'm trying to remember what the lineup was.
I was gonna say, didn't I hear that TJ Helmerich did that?
I think he did,
Oh.
George. I
That
think
would be
so.
like
And I don't remember who the bass player was. Was it Rufus?
probably.
Could have been Jimmy Johnson because he fills in live for everybody. I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look.
Yeah, I remember being very surprised that it was TJ because he's not a fit for me with this band as good as he is. But
Yeah. I remember I was disappointed that Tony was not playing that show, but they were still amazing. It's almost like it didn't really matter. Yeah, I'd have to go back and look exactly when that was.
Yeah, I'm trying
I
to.
saw Frank Gambale trio, and Fiorabracci was on the Gambale gig, and it was just after they announced TJ, and I said, "So TJ's on that gig, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah." I don't know about that. I'm like, "Why is that?" He's like, "Well, he's not a big practicer, and that's a practice gig, big time." Thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, Rick is very, very well respected in the industry. I've talked to so many people who just love his bass playing, and he's like kind of like one of the go-to guys nowadays. Really, really good player. All right, well, no surprise. My number 1 is Moon Babies as well. I would agree with George that the title track could be the quintessential planetx track. That if you want to send someone to listen to one song of this band, that's the one you go to first. I love the symphonic keys in the beginning. The heavy riffs are there, the crazy soloing. I mean, it's like you're off to the races right at the beginning of the album. Noble Savage is absolutely terrific as well. What I like about Noble Savage is, and this album in general, because you get a lot of different styles coming to the forefront of this album, whereas the first album was really, really heavy, very proggy. I mean, you got jazz, you got prog, you got funk, you got metal, all in one track. Noble Savage is so good. How about Ignotus Per Ignotium? Killer, epic. These guys can do the epic thing. I hear that, and I totally get like instrumental Dream Theater. And I remember, and this is no disrespect to Jordan Rudess, but I remember when I first heard that Derek was leaving Dream Theater, I was kind of disappointed because I always thought he worked so well within the confines of that band. And I listened to a lot of the stuff that he did later on with these guys, and I'm like, see, that's why I felt that way, because he's the guy to do that sort of wild and wacky, zany, complex, heavy stuff. And it's just really good. I think this is a great album. Ground Zero is good. I love Interlude in Milan, so melodic. Midnight Bell is great. Digital Vertigo. The whole thing is spectacular. I love the soloing. The arrangements are great. I love the production. The bass playing is great too. I agree with George though. God, if you can have Billy Sheehan on the album, even if it's only one song, it would have been nice to hear him a little more impactful on that. But man, Jimmy and Tom have played some great bass on this album. But yeah, Drummond's off the charts. Amazing stuff. That's my number 1.
We were at 2004, Pete.
Okay.
And I was at that one, but I don't know if they played Saturday or Sunday. And I know that was a year I went one day. I thought I went Saturday, but I couldn't.
I remember they played late afternoon, whichever day it was.
Yeah, I think they were last act before the headliner is
okay.
what I'm seeing. So
yeah, I remember them being really good. I remember specifically the lineup I was like, oh, who's that up there, right? But I walked away from, because I had seen Derek play before in Dream Theater. I had never seen Virgil live, and I was completely blown away by Virgil Minotti. I don't think I had ever seen drumming like that before. And you guys know me. I'm not a guy that really pay as much attention to drumming, right? But I was blown away by him that day. That was pretty intense stuff. But yeah,
Maybe another reason I really favor Moon Babies is this is the one, like Eric said, this is the one with a real varied songwriting credit thing. Especially on Quantum, it's basically the Donati show. He wrote or co-wrote every song, so he kind of took over. Is that because Derek was using his material for his solo albums? I don't know.
Yeah, might be.
Not that the identity changed that much, but it's always good to collaborate.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why, like I said, I think Moon Babies for me has the most variety as far as like all the different styles kind of coming together, and that's probably because everybody had a hand in putting it together. Yeah. Cool. So for those of you watching who are planetx fans, let us know how you would rank these albums. Good luck down in the comments below. And if you, like I said, if you've never listened to them, well, there's places you can go to check these albums out. I would say if you're interested in buying them, and you'll get all 4, wait for the box set that's coming out in just a couple of weeks. In fact, there is ordering information that you can hold on a second. I'm getting a little update on my computer that's popping up my screen. Okay. Hopefully you guys didn't see any kind of break in continuity here. If you go to the interview I did with both Derek and Virgil just a couple weeks ago, there in the leave in the comments section, there is information about where you can pre-order the particular box set. Ken Golden also has a pre-order going as well at the lasercd.com, wherever you'd like to go do that. And it should be a nice package. All the 4 albums are going to be remastered, and because they're kind of hard to get nowadays, as much of this inside out stuff is after goes out of print. These, for whatever reason, these labels nowadays, Inside Out and Frontiers, they print up X amount of copies of physical product, and then once they're gone, they're gone. They tend to not reprint a lot of this stuff. So now's a good chance to get it all in the box set. So
yeah, Ken always says if you want it, buy it, because when it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah. You sniff on this stuff, and before you know it, it's pretty hard to get. So
do you have a gut feeling? I remember you asked them, and they gave a pretty stock answer. Do you have a gut feeling that they might do it again? I mean, they said
I didn't get a negative feeling from them. So my guess is they have been pondering and talking about it for a while, but because they're both so busy that it just hasn't happened. But I think my gut tells me, based on these type of situations and dealing and talking to other musicians over the years, is that if the box set does really well and there's a lot of positive feedback on that, that will help prompt them to maybe make a decision one way or the other. That's my guess. Yeah, I think they want to. It's just a matter of making it happen.
And then it'll be interesting to see if they go and get McAlpine back, or they get somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the money's in getting McAlpine back, right?
He's a perfect fit. I mean, you can get another guy to replicate the spot, but he's the guy for the gig.
Yeah. And my personal feeling, you want to really make an impact and make a big comeback. Derek and Sheehan are like this. Get Sheehan to be the bass player, and get McAlpine. And I mean, what a band that is, right? Even if it's just for an album and a quick tour. I mean, holy moly, right?
Yeah.
Please.
We'll see. Time will tell. Derek, I know you're gonna be watching this, so you got 3 supporters right here for a comeback. So if you guys do decide to do it, sure there'll be plenty of interest in it. So
Indeed.
Thanks for watching, everybody, this episode of Ranking the Albums. Like I said, rank them as you like them down in the comments below. If you haven't checked any of them out, go do so. Come back. Let us know what you think down below there. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alerted of all our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. Also, down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, as well as our merch page. So thanks in advance for all of that. And we'll see you next time here on Ranking the Albums. For George Lemie, I am Eric Porter. No, for George Lemie and Eric Porter, I am Peter Pardo. I am not Eric Porter. Oh, my God. Too much talking already this morning. Anyway, guys, this has been fun. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week here on Ranking the Albums. What that will be, I don't know yet, but we'll figure it out between now and then. So till then, have a good weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.